Today we're going to be looking at question 15 from the April 2017 QAS test. And 15 says, as used in line 35, magnitude most nearly means. So to solve this, we're going to go back to the lines 35. We're going to look for the word magnitude, and we're going to ask ourselves, what can we replace it with? What is it being used for? So here we have, to put that in perspective, this is roughly the same magnitude as the correlation between the heights of the fathers and the heights of sons. It is not, actually we'll stop right there. Okay, so basically they're discussing the results of the experiment when they're looking at how people whether or not people are good at predicting how a group feels about them. And they're saying, yes, we are. In fact, there's a 0.55 correlation, which is putting in perspective, that's about the same correlation as the height between a father and a son. So here, roughly the same magnitude. So we need a word to replace magnitude with. I can't really think of one in advance to replace it with, but I'm going to go down to the answer choices and kind of plug them in a little bit. So here we could say strength. I like strength right off the bat because it's sort of an idiomatic thing. And not really idiomatic, it's just sort of used. You talk about strength when you're talking about statistics. You could talk about the strength of a correlation. And if we plug it in, I think it makes sense. If we say this is roughly the same strength as the correlation. So this is pretty common, a common way to describe correlation and describe results in statistics. So I think this is good. We can look at influence, which if we plug it in, I think just sounds a little weird. This is roughly the same influence as the correlation. I think it's unidiomatic. I don't think it makes too much sense, so I would get rid of B. Then we have C, severity. So this is roughly the same severity as the correlation. Again, not something, not an idiomatic way to say that, and not something that I think makes too much sense. And then D, reality, we could plug that in, and I would say, to put that in perspective, this is roughly the same reality as the correlation, as if they're comparing the two realities. I don't really know what to say about that. It's a weird way to say it, so I would get rid of D as well, and that's going to leave us with answer choice A as our correct answer. It's hard if you're not familiar with that way of describing statistical data, but if you are, it make it a little bit easier, but sometimes it's just how these questions go. You have to be familiar with some of the terms, and it has to sort of stick out to you a little bit. So, but remember, you can always plug things in. That's usually one of the best ways to solve this. Plug them in. Sometimes they won't make sense. Sometimes they'll just give the wrong meaning. And sometimes they'll be like what I call anthropomorphizing. So basically, when you're describing an abstract quality or basically the behavior of something that's not animate, and you're describing it in terms of like how you would describe a human. So when you're using human words with human emotions and human context, that usually makes it wrong.